All right. She is salty. Salty, salty, salty. My God. You're funny, Alice.
I have a lot going on today.
Oh, my goodness. Well, you're a single parent, right? All right. Alice is salty, so we're not going to mess with her too much about that. But I'm going to start off with a story that's going to piss her off even more. And yes, I will be paying off our tease yesterday about my STD, which Alice is thrilled about talking about.
I'm just overjoyed.
Lloyd Austin announces military will pay for travel to obtain abortions.
Does that not violate the Hatch Act or whatever?
I don't know. The Department of Defense...
I guess just the travel.
The DoD has announced it will pay for service members to travel to get abortions following Supreme... Can you imagine how ghoulish this party is? Can you imagine how ghoulish? And don't tell me that these are for those emergency situations where somebody is raped by a superior officer. And the day-to-day reason why people get abortions is because they don't want to be inconvenienced with having a baby. So stop it, okay? That is mostly why this happens.
Yeah, well...
Can we be honest?
Yes, or, in the case of employers, and in this case, especially if the military is your employer, so that your employer isn't inconvenienced by you wanting to have a baby, right? If your employer, it would be more convenient for them for you to continue to go to work, of course they're going to pay for your travel to go get an abortion. And in this case, it's the military, which conveniently is just in time for women to get drafted now. I mean, I know they went off that, but they're going to try and do that again.
It is just interesting,
because have you noticed that weirdness? So remember, I think you and I talked about this, but I think not on the show, how the Selective Service was tweeting weird stuff just so you know, even if you have an only child, they still have to register for the draft.
Right.
Weird stuff. Was anybody questioning that? Was anybody confused? Why are you doing weird press releases about everybody having to register for the draft? And by the way, I mean, I know that people who are politically plugged in know about the draft and stuff, but I think there are a lot of people that don't fully realize the draft is a thing. I mean, I know Vietnam wasn't that long ago in our collective U.S. memory, but most people just aren't very aware of stuff. And I was talking to somebody the other day who has 2 sons, and she was like, wait, you mean it's required? They have to register for the draft when they're 18? And I was like, yeah, you didn't know this? I'm like, what do you think people were in trouble for in Vietnam? And she was like, I don't know. I didn't realize that they had to. Why should they have to? Make the people with the Ukraine flags register before my kids. And I get it, but it's not, it's sort of out of the personal experience of most people alive right now, the idea of a draft. And it's hard to imagine us doing it. But if we went to war, we would actually need to have a draft because we have a massive, massive recruitment crisis in the armed forces right now, in all of the armed forces. And they're being run by total nut jobs. So they are absolutely going to draft your kids. Whether it's Ukraine or it's Taiwan or wherever it is, they're going to do it. And by the way,
Alice,
the people running the military freaking suck. So they're probably going to get your kid killed too. So that's the other piece of that. So none of that I like. They're probably also going to start drafting your daughters. They already tried to do that. It got shot down in Congress, I believe, but I'm sure that will be back. I'm sure it will. And so of course they want to pay for your daughters that they're going to draft to get abortions and abort your grandchildren. Of course they do. Why wouldn't they? It's just convenient. When they go send your daughter to die in Taiwan, then, they're going to need her to get an abortion so she can go serve over there. Sorry to be dark.
No, it's fine. This is a good representation of the mood you've been in.
I am in that mood.
But also, in order to have a draft, don't we need a war?
Oh, I'm sure our intellectually superior ruling class can come up with a war if pressed.
Well, just look at this. This administration, and if you add in the Obama administration, it has been 14 years now. They have been pursuing, hat in hand, rather filleting the Iranians to get a nuclear deal with the Iranians. This administration, chasing them around, even though in the last few years the Iranians said don't bother, chasing them around, having a deal brokered by the Russians in Europe for a nuke deal. They're obsessed with it. They're these these egg-headed globalist diplomatic thinkers, foreign policy experts, think it's a good idea to give the Iranians, essentially give them leeway in building their nuclear capabilities, which of course the Iranians already proved because thankfully the Israelis are still competent. They've already proven that they never abided by anything. Of course they're going to use it. Of course they want to be in the nuke club. And by the way, they're involved in one direct war and several proxy wars right now. And it's funny because the only reason the administration now has stopped filleting them is because our new fellatio partner, Ukraine, is being bombed by Iran-made drones. And that's a bridge too far for us. Now we're offended because the war of the day in Ukraine is being affected by these drones. Mm-hmm. So maybe that goes to your. I mean, and that's the war that we need, right? That's the war that we want right now.
Right. So, but I mean, this is both sides of the aisle too. Mike Pence was just out on TV talking about how we need to support Ukraine more. National Review had an article about how we need to start providing Ukraine with F-16s. I mean, what are we doing here? Like,
well, how about this? Mm-hmm. How about this? We are giving them arms that are made in the United States.
We're giving them a ton of stuff, and I'm sure we're giving them intelligence, too. Otherwise, this stuff wouldn't be getting blown up, all the Russian things.
We're providing the entire infrastructure for their war.
We're really at war with Russia right now.
Yes, of course.
Like, that's actually what's happening right now, and they keep slipping up and accidentally saying it, too. Like, Biden will say, like, this is a time of war. The gas station owners need to lower their prices. But...
don't hit any of these.
I've never, don't. Everything's extremely precarious in the studio right now. Can you go play somewhere else, please? I have no clue where my phone is, or I would give it to you, but I don't even know where it is right now. So I don't know what to tell you. Can you go play? We're going to go to karate really soon.
Put on Bluey. We're going to karate soon. Okay?
You can wear your Mickey ears to karate. How's that sound?
Actually, are you supposed to wear your thing this week?
It's next week.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we'll see you downstairs.
Trish says Biden told the oil companies we have a war going on. That's right. The elites already consider us at war because we are at war right now with Russia. And like whether or not, they actually go out and declare war, I guess to send kids there, they'll have to. But like if we keep this up, we're going to need a draft at some point, because there's nobody joining the armed forces. They aren't hitting any of their recruitment goals because they're stupid, terrible, woke places where no one wants to send their kid anymore. And they're going to have to force people to go. And I think when that happens, that's going to be a tough sell with people. I don't really know how you go there. Like, I don't know how all these people that are holding Ukraine bake sales and this and that in our towns and have little Ukraine hearts in their yards and Ukraine flags on their houses, are they going to be okay with sending their kids to Ukraine to die? Do we think? So, yeah, I mean, it's been a while since there's been a draft in the United States. I wasn't alive for the last one.
Alice, I think that we should be doing something in Ukraine, too. I do think it's good that we're destroying Putin. But I think there's got to be a limit. And also, I think that we need to be prepared. This thing is dragging on. Putin's getting more desperate. We need to be prepared for real-life retaliation.
Yeah. As in retaliation on our infrastructure. We already know that Putin and the Russians have a ton of cyber terrorism
busted down the half of the Eastern Seaboard last year, the pipeline or whatever that was.
Biden provided Putin with a list of, please don't attack these 7 things when you're doing your cyber terrorism. Yeah. Just try and keep it to the less important stuff, if you would, please. So in case you're wondering why Putin thinks we're a bunch of wimps who he doesn't have to worry about, you can look at Biden.
Can you imagine that? Oh, how weak are we?
So
between that and the way Lloyd Austin walks around with his stupid 6 masks in the windshield in front of him.
And then the Afghanistan stuff too, obviously, which he should be impeached over. By the way, did you look into or read any of this Rolling Stone story, by the way, about the journalist who vanished?
No.
So, this journalist was writing a book covering our withdrawal from Afghanistan.
No.
And the FBI raided his house, and he's now vanished. He abruptly resigned from his job, hasn't been seen at his apartment, and is just gone. Nobody knows where he is.
And he's writing about our withdrawal from
He
Afghanistan.
was. He's not anymore.
Was
gone.
he in country or in the U.S.?
In U.S.
Huh.
He was in the U.S. So this is the Rolling Stone story, okay? Listen to this. This is nuts. It's hard to believe this happens in America. I have to hold it in a separate bucket in my brain because it's so crazy, this story. Listen to this. A minute before 5 a.m., April 27, ABC News' James Gordon Meek fired off a tweet with a single word, facts. The network's national security investigative producer was responding to former CIA agent Mark Polymeropoulos' take that the Ukrainian military was thriving against Russian forces. Polymeropoulos' tweet, filled with acronyms indecipherable to the layperson, was itself a reply to a missive from the Washington Post Pentagon reporter Dan Lamothe, who noticed the wealth of information the U.S. military had gathered about Russian ops by observing their combat strategy in real time. The interchange illustrated the interplay between the national security community and those who cover it. And no one straddled both worlds quite like Meek, an Emmy-winning deep-dive journalist who is also a former senior counterterrorism advisor and investigator for the House Homeland Security Committee. To his detractors within ABC, Meek was something of a military fanboy, but his track record of exclusives was undeniable, breaking the news of foiled terrorist plots in New York City and the Army's cover-up of the fratricidal death of Dave Charette II in Iraq, a bombshell that earned Meek a face-to-face meeting with President Obama. With 9 years at ABC under his belt, a buzzy Hulu documentary poised for Emmy attention, and an upcoming book on the military's chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan, the 52-year-old bear of a man seemed to be at the height of his powers and the pinnacle of his profession. Outside his Arlington, Virginia apartment, a surreal scene was unfolding, and his storied career was about to come crashing down. Meek's tweet marked the last time he posted on the social media platform. The first thing Meek's neighbor, John Antonelli, noticed that morning was the black utility vehicle with blacked-out windows blocking traffic in both directions on Columbia Pike. It was just before dawn on that April day, and self-described police vehicle historian Antonelli was about to grab a coffee. He inched closer to get a better vantage when he saw another tactical vehicle often employed by the Federal Bureau of Investigation, among other law enforcement agencies. A few Arlington County cruisers surrounded the scene, but all of the other vehicles were unmarked, including the Bearcat. Antonelli counted at least 10 heavily armored personnel in the group. None bore anything identifying which agency was conducting the raid. After just 10 minutes, the operation inside the apartment complex was over. They didn't stick around. They took off pretty quickly and headed west on Columbia Pike towards Fairfax County. Most people seeing that green vehicle would think it's some kind of tank, but I knew it was a Lenco Bearcat. The vehicle is designed to be jumped out of so they can do a raid in that kind of time. It can return fire if it's being fired upon. Multiple sources familiar with the matter say Meek was the target of an FBI raid at the Sienna Park Apartments, where he'd been living on the top floor for more than a decade. An FBI representative told Rolling Stone its agents were present that morning, conducting court-authorized law enforcement activity, and the FBI cannot comment further due to an ongoing investigation. Meek has been charged with no crime. But independent observers believe the raid is among the first, and quite possibly the first, to be carried out on a journalist by the Biden administration. A federal magistrate judge in the Virginia Eastern District Court signed off on the search warrant the day before the raid. If the raid was for Meek's records, U.S. Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco would have had to give her blessing. A new policy enacted last year prohibits federal prosecutors from seizing journalists' documents. Any exception requires the Deputy AG's approval. In the raid's aftermath, Meek, who frequently collaborated with ABC World News Tonight anchor David Moyer, had made himself scarce. None of his Sienna Park neighbors with whom Rolling Stone spoke have seen him since, with his apartment appearing to be vacant. Sienna Park management declined to confirm their longtime tenant was gone, and several ABC News colleagues who are accustomed to unraveling mysteries and cracking investigative stories tell Rolling Stone they have no idea what happened to Meek. An ABC representative tells Rolling Stone he resigned very abruptly and hasn't worked for us for months. Sources familiar with the matter say federal agents allegedly found classified information on Meek's laptop during their raid. One investigative journalist who works with Meek said it would be highly unusual for a reporter or producer to keep any classified information on a computer. His lawyer says he's unaware of what allegations anonymous sources are making about his possession of classified documents. If such documents exist, this would be within the scope of his long career of an investigative journalist covering government wrongdoing. The allegations in your inquiry are troubling for a different reason. They appear to come from a source inside the government. So, the guy's vanished off the earth.
Interesting.
I mean, what? And I can't believe, the lack of attention this is getting.
Yeah, I mean, everybody cares about Khashoggi, and he wasn't even an American. What about this guy?
Yeah, no, this is the Biden administration's FBI just raided a serious ABC journalist who was writing work critical of the investigation of the administration, and now he's just gone. Like, nobody's worried about that at all. It seems like kind of nuts. And the guy is, he hasn't been charged with anything. Do you know what I'm saying? That's like what's especially crazy. So Morgan in the chat says Tim Pool said one of his employees knows him and he hasn't returned his calls for months. So yeah, the guy is missing.
Wow.
And so either he's like gone completely into hiding, or like they got to him, or he committed suicide possibly. I mean, like he's been made to look like he committed suicide. I don't really know. Like it's a wild story. It's absolutely incredible. And the fact that it's not getting more attention and like that reporters aren't asking more questions about it is nuts. You would think that reporters would be a little worried about the Biden administration disappearing journalists, wouldn't you? Doesn't that seem like if you were a reporter, that would be something that would concern you? Because it sure would concern me. Like if I were one of his ABC colleagues or something, I'd be pretty worried about that. If the Biden administration has gotten into the business of like raiding journalists without charging them with any crime, and then they vanish off the face of the earth. It's really nuts. I don't know. And this is Rolling Stone reporting it versus Arkansas. Exactly. I mean,
yeah.
This is Rolling Stone reporting it. This is an ABC journalist. This isn't like some wild tale on, OAN or something. This is...
Oh, she finally made it on social media, huh?
What?
He finally made it. Alice Shattuck is a violent extremist Christian, woman hater, gay hater, trans hater, and white supremacist. Alice, actually, no, that's just your Twitter bio. Alice Shattuck has no words of her own. I don't know that that's true. Is that true?
Apparently.
Alice Shattuck follows Donald Trump because he reminds her of her violent woman.
I'm a well-known big Donald Trump follower.
Alice Shattuck, this is how craven I am. Alice Shattuck follows Donald Trump because he reminds her of her violent, woman-hating, racist elders. I was hoping it was going to say husband and be tagged, and I'd get a little attention too, but nothing. Hey, congratulations, Alice. That's somebody on Twitter there. Alice is making friends. Only some of that is true, by the way, on Twitter.
I really don't hate anybody.
Well. I talked to Bethany Mandel again today.
That's great. I love her.
45% of Montgomery County students identified as non-binary in a survey. Good job, Democrats. Good job.
That might just be an indication that Montgomery County students don't take the surveys that their school districts give them seriously, too.
Florida State Fire Marshal calls on Elon Musk and other EV producers for answers about vehicles. Florida State Fire Marshal Jimmy Petronas is calling for electric car companies to answer for electrical vehicles that have burst into flames from the storm surge of Hurricane Ian. The unfortunate reality is there is a population of vehicles that's good. This is Petronas that could spontaneously combust, putting our first responders at risk, and the manufacturers are nowhere to be found. For as big a risk as this is to fire teams, for companies who have received an immense sum of subsidies from taxpayers, I would have hoped the reaction by manufacturers would have been more robust, especially as these EVs supposedly have a tremendous amount of technology and connectivity. There could be a family who evacuated whose home was left relatively intact from Ian, who may still lose everything because of an abandoned EV left in their garage that catches fire as a result of salty storm surge waters. Some Floridians have already discovered this the hard way. One house on hard-hit Sanibel Island was severely damaged after the Tesla in the garage caught on fire. There have been multiple calls for EVs as once lithium batteries are damaged from salt water, they become easily flammable, cause the vehicle to combust.
That seems like it would be important as a bunch of states mandate us all to switch to electric vehicles.
Yep.
Maybe we should consider that as we go forward. Wasn't there a bus in Connecticut that caught on fire too?
Further, I saw with my own eyes that North Collier Fire Rescue fought an EV fire that continuously reignited. It was surreal and frankly scary watching the fire teams fight this EV fire using tens of thousands of gallons of water to cool the batteries and then watch the EV reignite. I even found out later that the car reignited on the tow truck. Florida firefighters have been to the tip of the spear in hurricane recovery operations, and more has to be done to help these heroes deal with the unique challenges of EV fires. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, it happened in Connecticut. It's going to be happening in more places. I still think like the idea of electric cars are cool, but we're testing them as we go.
So this is relevant to your Connecticut listeners, by the way. Did you see what Fox News is reporting about Dick Blumenthal?
No.
They've got one of his high school yearbooks. Mm-hmm. Senator Richard Blumenthal of D. Connecticut served as president of the student council at his high school when the group put on a Slave Day fundraising event. And he used a term now recognized as racist several times during one of his writings for the student newspaper at Harvard. According to images and documentation listed in the 1963 yearbook for Riverdale Country School, a private school located in the Bronx, Blumenthal served as the president of the school's student council and attempted to unify the schools through a series of fundraising events that called for student participation. One of the student council's fundraising events, according to the yearbook, was the inaugural Slave Day.
Oh my God, did you send that to us?
Yes, 1962. Describing the event, the yearbook said a large number of upper school students
Happy Slave Day!
worked at odd jobs around the neighborhood and helped to raise over $200 for the drive. The yearbook also noted that the Slave Day fundraiser exemplified the kind of activity which the council felt most important to the school, the leadership and the participation being completely under the incentive of the students. Following his high school career, Blumenthal attended Harvard University and served as editor-in-chief of the Harvard Crimson, the school's student newspaper. During his time as a writer for the newspaper, Blumenthal used a term that is now considered a racial slur at least 7 times in a 1960s.
What was that?
It's the same as the Baldwin, I am not your. I don't know. Am I allowed to say that?
Well, is it the big one?
No.
Slave?
No, I am not your...
The one
that a Connecticut teacher got in trouble for saying the name of the James Baldwin book.
Oh.
I am not your...
The N-word.
Is that the N-word?
That's the big one.
No. It's not the one that rhymes with a character from Winnie the Pooh.
Thumper?
No. Tigger.
Okay.
Doesn't rhyme with that. Anyway. A summer school project set for blank students, which described a program for African American students to study in the summers at Harvard, Yale, and Columbia University in preparation for graduate school. I sent this to us,
Blumenthal?
Yes.
I'm tweeting it.
Okay. So... Anyway, in the 1960s, there was a debate over whether that word used was a racist term. According to Ferris State University, the word became totally uncouth by the mid-1980s. So, ordinarily, Fox News Digital reached out to Blumenthal's office about the Slave Day event and his choice of words in his college writing, but did not receive a response. So, I don't know. That's going to be interesting to see. I think that probably helps your friend Leora Levy a bit because... if these are the rules that we're playing by now as we go through people's old yearbooks and judge them for things. First of all, he was in high school in the 1960s.
So?
How freaking old is he?
He's very old.
He shouldn't be in the Senate anyway then. Why is everybody in the Senate like 100 years old? How old is Leora Levy?
60s.
Okay, I endorse her. So she didn't go to high school in the 1960s. In other words.
She did not.
Okay.
How new is that story?
It's today, I think.
That is very interesting. All right, Dateline.
Published October 20th at 2 p.m. Yeah.
That's great.
So anyway, they play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Happy Slave Day. Stonington schools remove pride flags from classrooms. I love it. I love the headline, too. Alice.
You love the Dick Blumenthal headline?
No, this. I've moved on.
Okay, sorry. Go
Stonington schools remove pride flags from classrooms. Did you hear that?
Yes, I did hear that.
Do you find that a peculiar story?
Yes, I find that a peculiar story.
This is Channel 3 Eyewitness News doing the same story.
Some controversy brewing in Stonington over pride flags following a decision to ban them from schools in town. Channel 3's Stephanie Simoni has a closer look right now at the issue. Stephanie?
Mark, it is unclear exactly why the pride flags are getting removed from classrooms, but
it's unclear as to why exactly the removal is happening. I think the news, the lead is pride flags are in the classrooms. That's what is the story here. Not that they're being removed.
Yeah, it's unclear exactly why the pride flags are in the classroom to begin with.
Right. The weird thing isn't that the flag that, among other things, represents sex between, two men or two ladies, etc. I mean, the weird things is that they're being removed. Like, get the frig out of here with this stuff. Stonington, a group of residents is criticizing. By the way, I want you to listen to more of this.
Americans should be.
Shut up. I want you to listen to more of this. I want you to listen to this Channel 3 thing. This is how the news works.
Some controversy brewing in Stonington over pride flags following a decision to ban them from schools in town. Channel 3 Stephanie Simone has a closer look right now at the issue. Stephanie?
Mark, it is unclear exactly why the pride flags are getting removed from classrooms, but the superintendent sent a statement tonight that said in part, quote, many families have divergent opinions on the inclusion of pride flags and other flags within the learning environment. Now, this move even sparking outrage outside of Stonington.
This move even sparking outrage outside of Stonington.
Spoke with one Norwich man who was very concerned by this.
Now, why wouldn't they speak to a Stonington man?
Well, and why does a Norwich man give a crap if they have pride flags for the children in Stonington or not?
Because nobody in Stonington gives a crap. And so they went to Norwich to find an activist who would care. And they did, because they're trying to make a story about because they're trying to make a story about there being outrage about a flag being removed. Because why would you remove the flag? It organically comes there with the desks and the chairs, and then the gay flag comes up.
Living in southeastern Connecticut.
He lives in southeastern Connecticut.
He says he was lucky to come out to a loving, accepting family when he was young, but not everybody has that. He says the rainbow flag is a symbol of hope that many students need to see.
It's really important for that flag to be present, to know that everyone is safe within there, and allow those kids.
Who's telling you you're not safe? Can I have a flag with John Candy on it so I can feel safe being a fat guy in it? Everybody gets a flag so you feel safe. We have a flag directly that you can associate with your thing that makes you different here so you can feel safe. Otherwise, you're not safe?
No.
So wait, so all those kids now, tomorrow, everybody's going to get gay bashed because the flag's gone.
I guess so. It doesn't say much for what they think of the community in Stonington if they think all of a sudden if they take the flag down, all the children will be attacked.
Right, or the teacher. It's like, okay, whatever. All right, we got to get to my STD. You ready?
Okay.
1993 or 4. I was dating a lady. We'll say she was from Malden, okay? And she had been proudly. She would tell me how this is the kind of young lady that I would say that my mother was not thrilled that I would have been dating.
Okay.
She used to tell me matter-of-factly, as we would drive through Malden, she would point to different men that she'd been with.
Mm-hmm.
She was older.
Did she use that word?
She used the word that I got with him. I was with him. She used kind of a streety word for it. I'm sure she definitely had a whatever. She would say, "Oh yeah, I was with him. Whatever, it was for a while, just once, whatever." I actually went out to a bar and 3 guys were there. 3 big dudes. One of them, I don't want to give his nickname, but one of them had a very typical big dude nickname. And she told me she had been with all of them. She had a sister who was in a band. She had been with members of the band. The girl I was seeing. But, she was attractive, and
And she would sleep with you.
She would sleep with me. And really, that's all I had been
Your standards were very high
for my whole life. So, and I was like, and she also, not surprisingly, had several abortions because she wasn't going to put her father used to say, that's the thing about Sarah is, she likes to have sex like me. It's like, she used to say that. I'm like, okay, everything's perfectly healthy in this family. Absolutely. That's fine. So anyway, we're plugging along there, and I got doubled. My friend and she hooked up with my best friend, of course. So then I had to, because my other friends told me to be humiliated about this. I had to try to steal her back to be mine. And that happened, and that just like ruined a friend.
That's worse.
Oh yeah, and so it's all. Oh, that's worse. And then
Dave in the chat wants to know where the STD comes in.
It's coming in. Where do you think it comes in?
It's coming.
Yeah. So anyway, time moves on a little bit, and I notice that I have a tiny little rash, like bumps, we'll say, okay? Precisely where you don't want to have bumps. Now, we didn't have the internet. I didn't have the internet this time. All I had was my mom had gotten me and my brother a medical book, like a big thick thing that you can diagnose what you have. I looked up my thing. Everything about it was herpes. Everything. It was herpes. It looked like this. Feel like this. This is everything. And I started to say, oh my God, this girl gave me I have herpes. I didn't tell anybody. I just had the secret inside. And I was like, for weeks and weeks, this thing had me absolutely because you don't get rid of herpes.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, I got taken out. Not even 21 or 20, whatever years. In this girl who's been with everyone in town proudly now has delivered me the dividends of being with everyone in town. So I finally make a doctor's appointment, and they say, why do you want to come in? And I said, I want to come in because I think I have pneumonia.
Pneumonia?
So I go to this doctor who I'd seen once before in Somerville. And she says, okay, Tom, you said you have and I said, no, I think I have herpes. And I removed my pants immediately and showed her. I was like I had been totally stressed out over this. She said, oh, okay. And by the way, she said, okay, Tom, I'm going to get the other doctor in here as well. But she said, who was Dr. Well, okay, I won't say the name of this doctor, but she said, how many sexual partners have you had? And I said, really, I'm with one. I've been one. And she said, well, Tom, are you cheating on her? Are you having an affair with other girls? And I said, no. She's been with everybody. Every other third patient you see has been with her. And she said, and she didn't believe me. She said, Tom, are you telling me the truth?
What a misogynist.
She said, what do you mean?
I mean...
I'm telling you, Alice.
I know, I'm teasing you.
So the doctor wouldn't believe me. I'm like, what are you doing? She said, because if you are, you need to be thinking about her health. I'm like, her health? I'm a nice boy from Winchester, okay? I was ruined.
I don't get STDs.
I was ruined by the Mystic River in Malden.
People in Malden get STDs, not me.
Oh, there's pictures from Malden.
I'm from Winchester, Massachusetts.
But I'm scared to death. And great.
This doesn't happen to people like me, doctor. Make this go away.
So then she brings in Dr. Roy Berkowitz Shelton. He's got a hyphen.
Okay.
Right? And he comes right in. He grabs my thing, which was Alice, an unusual experience for me at that point. Okay, before my phase. Okay,
I was supposed to react to that with shock.
And it was so interesting because he said, "Oh yeah, it's molluscum," and he said to something about her. Yeah, get him a whatever script for antibiotic, whatever. They gave me this acid, which essentially almost burnt my entire thing off at one point, and some antibiotic, whatever. And with those words, it's molluscum. That's it. That was it. It's molluscum contagiosum, and it was a temporary. In that point, some people don't consider it an STD. It is an STD, but it went away. But it was so funny because I was so close to assuming that, yes, I definitely have herpes. I was going to live with herpes. And then that guy just dismissed it away and threw it away, which was interesting. So that finally, I had to tell, of course, my girlfriend blamed me, of course, for cheating on her, which I didn't do. Anyway, that doctor, Dr. Roy Berkowitz Shelton, Dateline, Somerville, Massachusetts, 2006. A beloved Somerville family doctor has dropped a bombshell on his patients by revealing that he is transsexual and will be seeing patients as a woman. After almost 18 years of practicing medicine in Davis Square, which is where he was, I'm looking forward to many more years as your family physician. There will only be one major change that will occur in July. I'll begin practicing medicine as a woman, Dr. Roy Berkowitz Shelton wrote in a letter to patients. Berkowitz Shelton, married father of two, said the letter will return He will return from a hiatus to live my life as I believe it meant to be lived. It's funny because at that time that was a huge story.
Mm-hmm.
But like,
so what? Wait, were you aware in 2006? Like, did the story ping for you? You were like,
I knew the
guy who touched me.
Yes, is now on the other team. Like, am I a victim or am I?
Well, now that's good because the person that grabbed you was a girl.
So I think it was in the all-time tally.
Yes.
Oh, that is great.
One more girl touched you there.
One more girl touched me there. Yeah, that's right. And there's another story, a subsequent story, of course, in the Globe. There's this woman who looks like Tootsie now. Dr. Deborah Burschel.
She lost the hyphen?
Oh, yeah. She's now just Dr. Deborah Burschel.
Okay.
Yes. She's been featured in the Globe.
Oh, wow.
So that is the story of my STD. It was a very scary time for everybody. But you know what?
Wow.
There you go. That's what happened. So look out. Don't self-diagnose. Don't self-diagnose.
It wasn't you can be misled. Anyway, I got to take some kids to karate.
All right. You know what? Let me play the music. Let me play you out. Do you mind?
I'll play you out. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Thank you, Patreon Live listeners. We love talking to you. And sorry for the weird timing today, but we'll see you all on Sunday. Looking forward to that. You can, of course, find the live shows and extra Sunday shows at patreon.com/burnbarrel. You can also always find us for free at burnbarrelpodcast.com, on social media at burnbarrelpod, facebook.com/burnbarrelpodcast, and that's it.
C'est la vie.